This is your first and only two-time dog heavyweight champion, Breaker Moran, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
This is Lois Crane here, and I'm advising you to do yourself a favor and watch the Alliance Guys podcast.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive Papa Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Papa.
This is David Goldie, the World Wrestling Grand Prix Champion, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
Building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
I'm building an alliance.
Will you join us?
I hate the fact that it keeps looping. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Of course, I'm not alone. Nay, I am joined by my good friends, DKM and Jaden. Welcome to the show, fellas. How you guys doing?
Wasabi DK is muted.
He did that on purpose.
Yes, I think so too.
I don't want to talk to you guys.
Hey, the feeling's mutual, pal.
No, it's not. You love talking to DK.
I do, actually. He's like the patriarch of the Alliance Guys.
Watch it.
What's up, fellas? How are you doing? You having a good Thursday?
I got out of school a little early, so that's a good start. Can't wait to get some food on my belly.
I haven't shot anybody.
That's a good start.
I had an opportunity to go down to the AEW live event. What was it? Dynamite on Wednesday? And I had to pass because I was going to do an interview live on our Twitch channel, and so many technical snafus made it impossible. So I could have drove down to Oceanside and watched AEW. Instead, I sat at home frustrated because I couldn't get my podcast to work.
Sound like you had a good time, a much better time.
I was waiting for you to come there with that one.
I was saving it for, I was going to say it before, but it was because we were talking off air, but I was saving it for figuring you were going to say something. So I was hoping that worked out well, and you set me up well.
Yeah, well, so they were handing out tickets to the AEW event. Not handing them out. I want to say that differently. They had a raffle.
Forcing them on people. Oh.
They had a raffle at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, the return. And so some lucky fans in the attendance were able to go. I was offered an additional pair of tickets, but I passed on them. I would have totally gone to an AEW event. In fact, I'm going to be going to Revolution when they come to Los Angeles, and I'm looking forward to it. My brother James Cal, he is he's a wrestling fan, but not a diehard like me. So it's always fun to see like his perception of the wrestling shows that we go to. I've gone with him to like New Japan Strong or to the WWE, and it's always cool to see his take on it, what he thinks about the shows. Because you never really, I feel like for guys like us that we analyze it, we talk about it, and we look at it in a different perspective with different lenses. You know, for me, I don't ever just sit back and enjoy a wrestling show like I used to. I'm always, either writing down results or taking photos or getting video content. So it's nice to hear the opinions and views of people who don't do that.
Yeah, nothing ruins being a wrestling fan than having to be in some kind of way, shape, or form in professional wrestling.
I've never looked at wrestling the same in the last 15 years, and it's like somebody asked me today, well, who's your football team? And I said, I don't really watch football. And they were kind of surprised. I said, I played in high school, but once you see how the sausage is made, it kind of ruins the whole thing for you. And I'm not a fan of football, and watching how wrestling is made, it changes how you perceive it.
I still enjoy hockey. I still enjoy amateur wrestling. I never really enjoyed baseball, but I was okay at it.
I was not good at anything, so it's all good.
Weird.
I have a question for both of you. Oh, I'm sorry, DK. Go ahead.
Yeah, weird baseball story.
Let's hear it.
So I played like 1 year of T-ball.
Okay.
And our team sucked. We won like one game. And then I played 1 year of coach pitch. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. You're a little guy.
Yeah. And here's what I learned is that I batted around 200, maybe less. I was easy to strike out. But if I made contact with the ball, I could make it to second base practically every time. Occasionally, I made it to third base. And Sean Maggie, yes. That's actually legit. That was T-ball. T-ball was 73. And I occasionally made it third base, and I had 2 in the park home runs. So if I could make contact, I hit it far. But chances are I wasn't going to make contact.
I saved all my base scoring for the ladies.
Oh, the extent
and I am serious, by the way, with Sean. Yeah, 73 was my T-ball, and 74 was my coach pitch.
I was -3 and -4 then.
-4, -5 then. Hey, we're not mad at you, DK. We're just pointing out that there is a little bit of an age disparity between us.
No, I mean, I know you guys are young and stupid.
We don't hold that against you because you're geriatric.
I hold it against you that you're young and stupid. So it's
El Geriatrico.
Oh my God. Why?
And Jason Owens. Didn't he recently have a neck injury? Anyway, I don't remember.
Who?
Generico?
Why did you pile drive Sammy?
Yeah.
So anyway, Jericho. I am trying to blot him out of my memory.
Yes, me too.
I heard an interesting take about him recently, and it kind of blew my mind because I like you guys. So I used to be a big fan of Jericho. Maybe you guys weren't.
I was.
In his early days, when I first saw Chris Jericho, it was when he came out in WCW as part of the junior heavyweight division. He started off as the Lionheart, and then the conspiracy victim, the man of 1,004 holds. And I really enjoyed Jericho back then. In fact, when he was Y2J in the WWE, when he made his debut, I was in for that. And then I would go back and see his ECW stuff. I thought Jericho was great, and I still think his early work was really solid. Very entertaining wrestler. Deserved all the accolades he received back then. And my only problem with Jericho today is I think he's just aged himself out of the sport. I don't think he's relevant. I don't think he's as popular as he thinks he is. But I heard a podcaster talking about Jericho and mentioned that he still works the crowd very well, considering that he's older. And there is a part of pro wrestling that is a show. It's not just wrestling moves. It's also part of the show. And he is still very much a character and still very much is able to draw heat. Now, I would argue that it's go away heat, but some people would say otherwise. And I just thought
you're pretty right. It's go away.
I was surprised that someone stood up for Jericho because, like, this point, you know, like, again, I could appreciate what he's done in the past, but there's nothing in the last, I don't know, 5 years that I found entertaining with Jericho.
One of my favorite Jericho stories and the things I noticed is when he used to wrestle in Mexico, his Lionheart name was Corazon de Leon.
Yes.
And he thought it was hilarious that he was Corazon de Leon and he was teamed up with Blue Demon Jr. or Blue Panther or something like that. He's like, why aren't they Pantera Azul or whatever?
That's a good point.
Why do they get the English name?
I like Jericho really up until about the time that he started doing like the Bill Goldberg thing in WCW, which I understand that, you know, he was wanting to do, you know, move. He didn't like being part of the cruiserweights. He never wanted to be part of the cruiserweights. He didn't want to hold the cruiserweight championship. And I feel like he's always thought he was better and higher than what he really was. You know, we've heard a lot about some of his backstage things and how he would stand up for other wrestlers or stuff like that. And you start hearing, you know, kind of years later, well, it was just basically him making an ass out of himself. They go, most of the wrestlers weren't looking at him as some kind of, you know, model and standing up for him, stuff like that. They just thought he was a jackass. And so, and then he complained about older wrestlers overstaying their time, which, you know, somehow now he's forgotten about. And it's just like, he had a lot of talent. He had a lot of skill, but he had very little patience. And I think he thought more of himself than probably he really was. I think somewhere along the lines, they start buying the hype. You know, I think that happened with, you know, Bret Hart too. They start going, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And at some point, I think Bret Hart actually believed that was a true statement.
Oh, I 100% believe he thinks that's a true statement.
And it was like, I hate to disappoint you, but
you know what my true opinion of the Hitman? Put an S in front of his nickname.
Who said that? That was the Shawn Michaelsism, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't know who said it, but I just loved it. And here's the thing, though, with DK's point, but as an up-and-coming wrestler, you want to have that attitude. You think you're better, you deserve more, that you're better than what you're getting. As a longtime veteran, that's Hulk Hogan. That's what happens then, is when you already get to the point where you're at your pinnacle and you're still trying to hold on to that, you become Hulk Hogan or Hulk Hogan, whatever you want to call him. Hulk Hogan, you jabroni. But yeah. So let's try to find him an interesting segue, Jay.
Well, the interesting segue, I don't have one prepared. I was just talking about Chris Jericho. I don't know even why we got onto the topic of Chris Jericho. But yeah, so talking, and then you know, in the chat we've got Sean Mega saying, where was it? Sean Mega said LA Park is about to be 60 and still mega over. Yeah,
kind of an asshole, but I love him.
Tim Storm just turned 60.
You know, LA Park was probably one of, if not my favorite luchador.
Okay.
Really?
What made him your favorite?
The obvious charisma that you only saw sparkles of in WCW and ECW, but when you watched AAA at the time and then later CMLL when he became LA Park instead of La Parka, there was just something. Both La Parkas, and even his Super Parka to a much lesser extent, had such a presence and a charisma and a personality that overshone their wrestling ability. And he was the largest of the three, and the fact how well he could move for a guy his size, in Lucha Libre, back when you didn't see bigger people trying to attempt Lucha Libre, It was just something, a spectacle to be seen. The outfit, the story of the Day of the Dead, just everything. The total package just had something that I absolutely loved. What was that?
Luger?
Lex Luger?
You said the
total package. Okay. Yeah. All right. No, it was actually DDP.
That'll never be old for me, by the way.
Yeah.
Unlike the rest of us.
Oh, man. Like kids who don't get vaccinated.
I love that one, Jay. I just wasn't selling it for you. I know you were hoping for something out of that. So
it's all right. I'm trying not to laugh too hard at my own joke, right? Just getting.
I'm not having any problem not laughing.
What's that now?
I'm not having any problem not laughing at your joke.
You don't like anything. Steve G said Bret Hart was the biggest crybaby in wrestling.
No, that was actually Superstar Billy Graham.
Yeah. Although I understood Graham a little bit more, but
Roswell said Stone Cold said that, I believe. Put an S in front of Hitman. That's probably
what?
Right.
That sounds more Stone Cold.
Yeah, it definitely sounds very Stone Cold.
What?
The funny thing is, I was excited when he won his first. I was a big Bret Hart fan, probably up until his heel turn, and then I was slowly getting over him. It's exciting when they first win, but then when they just keep going on, you're kind of like, okay, I'm tired of you now.
I was a huge Hart Foundation fan. I thought they just had something unique together. They were different than the other bookend tag teams that were around at the time. And I also liked them as a singles wrestler. I disliked him for a little bit before his heel turn. I think the heel turn rejuvenated him for me. And then I just went right after that, where he was really just over himself. It's just, I don't know. I just could not get into him anymore. I just lost everything.
I always liked him better than I liked Shawn Michaels.
I was a Bret Hart guy, and I remember my buddy was a Shawn Michaels guy when we went to WrestleMania when they were at the Anaheim Pond, and it was the Iron Man match, and I was there rooting for Bret. He was there rooting for Shawn, and I left unhappy that day. But even to this day, I still appreciate the work that Bret Hart did, and I would like to think that if he had not faced Goldberg in that match, that he would still be doing some stuff. I mean, I think he'd be towards the end of the career at this point, but I think we missed out on at least a decade or more of Bret Hart being able to work because of that injury.
I'm not sure, because he was very susceptible to that injury that put him out. So I think if it wasn't Goldberg, it could have been somebody else.
Okay.
That's the problem too with things like concussions and neck injuries. Once you get one, you're incredibly susceptible to get another one.
Well, and it increases each time.
Yes.
So, if you get one, there's a higher chance you'll get a second one. If you get a second one, then there's a real high chance you'll get a third. And it kind of keeps going. So the more you get, the more likely you are to.
I've had 10 documented concussions and nothing wrong happened to me. Not only that, but I've had 10 documented concussions and nothing wrong happened to me.
Shit.
I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Who are you?
Right. Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
Did you watch Power this week?
I did watch Power. Do you want to talk about Power, or do you want to talk about something else?
I don't want to talk about anything else, but I guess
what did we talk about? What were we talking about? Jay Cal, or Kevin Owens, or whoever you are. You, Jay Cal. So let's say you're a wrestler.
I'm a wrestler.
Yeah. All right. Now
a lot of people try saying that.
Let's say you're in the back and one of your friends is getting beat up.
Oh man.
All right. Let's say you run out to fend off the heels with a steel chair. Let's say the heels just laugh at you. What do you do?
If I was in that situation, and for those of you who don't know what DK is talking about, recently on an episode of Dynamite, Thunder Rosa, or was it Collision? I don't even know now. Thunder Rosa came out to help out, I believe it was Kat. Kat Statlander, and
Chris
Chris Statlander, and Thunder Rosa came out to the rescue when Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne were kind of taking liberty with Chris Statlander. And so there's been this feud kind of developing between Megan Bayne and Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa comes down with a chair, and the whole idea, I think the story I think was supposed to be that they were supposed to, tuck their tails and run. But when Thunder Rosa got in the ring with the chair, neither one of them decided to run. And even more so, Penelope Ford, the smaller of the two by a lot, gets in between Megan Bayne and Thunder Rosa. And the worst part about this is,
and they're standing very close together.
There's no possible way that Thunder Rosa could swing that chair without severely injuring one or both of those ladies. And instead of trying to work, it seems like there was a cluster F of moving pieces going on, and the two heels did not leave when Thunder Rosa showed up, which is strike one. Then Thunder Rosa was in the ring with the chair, waving it around, but not swinging it. That's strike number two. And all in all, it just became a whole cluster F of a segment. Now, if that were me, and I know I'd get in trouble for it, I'd swing the chair. And if it hits them and they get hit and they get hurt, man, then you should have bailed out of the ring. That's what a heel's supposed to do. Or you throw the chair down and you get those fists out and you start using your fist. Anything would have been better than what they did. And I would love to hear Jaden's point of view on that.
I would have swung the shit out of the chair, and if they didn't move, it's their own damn fault. You move. If I'm coming out with a chair, it's supposed to be with you. So either you have to take that chair away from me quickly or hit me so I don't use it, or I'm taking that thing and I'm swinging for the damn fences and trying to get a severed head home run if I can. So it's your own damn fault you didn't do it. And then, that's old school. That's how they get concussions. Guess what? You deserve it. And if you don't shut up, I'll hit you with the chair and give you a concussion. 10 documented like me. And nothing will happen, especially when you have 10 documented like me.
Exactly. And so, that was kind of, I was with Jim Cornette, and these aren't his exact words. But he basically said something to the effect of, I would have swung it in a worked way, hit them with the chair in a worked way. And if they didn't sell it, then I would have swung it and they would have sold it. And that's kind of where I'm at. He even said, he goes, Thunder Rosa didn't punch Penelope in the face in the back, which we have not heard of any type of backstage incident or anything. Dutch Mantel thinks it was all work. He thinks Thunder Rosa's on their side, really. And I don't know if that was the plan, but maybe it should be now. That was just the most bizarre thing. But if it was the way it looked, I would have swung that chair.
Yeah. I mean, you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your character, and it's unfortunate because especially for Thunder Rosa, she's had a lot of heat in the past with AEW because there's a lot of times where people thought she went into business for herself. And I know that she's been very vocal about like trying to do the right thing and trying to help the community and all that. But this is one of those times where you need to protect your character. You need to protect your brand. Now, if you're right, DK, and this is a worked angle, like
that to me, that was Dutch Mantel.
Okay, if that's Dutch's opinion, like that's wild. I don't hate it, but it certainly would make you do hate it.
Hated it.
It makes at least it would give us a little bit of. It would make a little sense considering how bad that chair shot looked.
Yeah, well,
or lack of chair shot.
Right. She threw the chair at them after they left the ring, and it fell short. And I don't know anything about Megan Bayne. Has she been around for a while, or she new?
I think she's from Stardom, and she's been. I know she's going to be working at a GCW show real soon, but I don't know a whole lot about her.
Because she just looked completely lost. Like she had no idea what to do. She had no idea that Thunder Rosa was coming out with the chair. She didn't know what to do once Thunder Rosa came out with the chair. Penelope or Penelope or whatever her name is.
Penelope.
Yeah, she was the one that was kind of being extra bitchy and extra. And she actually did try to grab the chair from Thunder Rosa, and they did have a little bit of a tug of war. And it was just like you're just watching all this and going, what?
Who's the agent of the segment? That's what I'd want to know.
I don't know.
That should have been very clear instructions on what needed to happen. It needs to go down from the hierarchy, come down to Tony, whoever's in charge, go down to who's the agent. The agent gives it to the wrestlers and make sure they understand greatly.
You know, the most embarrassing thing about all of that is that the AEW social media people put that up on their accounts. And it's like, why would you want to showcase that bewildering segment? Like, nobody looked good in that. Nobody. Not one person, not the organization, not the referees, not the agents, not the wrestlers. Everybody looked terrible in that. And somebody in the social media department is like, hey, I got an idea. It's like, what are you doing, dude? That's the stuff you don't want to bring onto TV. That's the stuff that we hope everyone forgets or didn't see. So
I almost feel like it was one of those things that they decided what they wanted to clip before the show. We'll clip this segment, this segment, this segment, and this segment, and upload it. And so it was like, we'll clip the Thunder Rosa run-in and upload that. And so the guy's just going, okay, if that's what you want.
Do we think that person still has a job?
Well, I mean, if they're just doing what they were told to do, I mean, there's no proof that whoever does that knows anything about wrestling. I mean, Tony doesn't seem to know anything about wrestling. So why would I expect the person who uploads YouTube videos to know anything?
I mean,
he's just doing what he's told to do.
That's fair.
And he was told to load that clip. So now, Vince would have fired him anyway. Vince would have fired him anyway. So, we won't let that interfere. We all know Vince is an asshole. So
what do you think about Vince and the rumors about him and Fox? Now, Fox has already come out and said that the rumors aren't true, but what do you guys think? Is that something that's in the works? You think Vince has got to return to pro wrestling?
The rumors are he actually doesn't want to get in the professional wrestling business. He's looking to get into the entertainment business.
Fuck. The sports entertainment business?
But, still.
It's been said for a long time that he's going to, basically since he was forced out at TKO, that he wanted to start some kind of production company or something like that, in that he wasn't interested. I know this sounds weird, but it's been said lots of times, Vince never actually liked wrestling. It's part of the reason he slowly but surely did away with it on his shows.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he never really liked wrestling. He may have been a marketing genius, sick perverted marketing genius, but a marketing genius. But he was never into wrestling. And so, and he always wanted more. That's why you had his, bodybuilding thing and his USF
Bodybuilding Federation, the XFL.
His one boxing fight that he promoted with Sugar Ray Leonard.
I
forget about that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he's always wanted to be more than a wrestling thing. And so I tend to think that if Vince sneezes, people think that it's some kind of code for that's probably a bad example since they say he hated it when people sneezed. I think if Vince looks to his left or looks to his right, people think that's some kind of coded signal that he's trying to start a new wrestling venture.
Maybe he can go to like the Silicon Valley and start his new production company, and Johnny Laurinaitis can be his big star.
And let's remember, Fox Fox made it very clear that they did not think they got their value from their WWE deal. And that's, I mean, they didn't even try to re-sign them. They weren't part of that, you know, there was no negotiation. It's like, your time's up, you're gone. So
I think that deal came a few years too early for them, and that's the problem, because I believe now they would probably see better return on their investment, but they went into business with the wrong family member.
Yeah, and I also think on top of that too, like I think, you know, I think it was an involuntary reaction by Fox because they were losing a lot of the local stations. When Disney purchased Fox, they bought all that content, and so like I think Fox was scrambling to make sure that they had a marketable, provided piece of content that they can air every week that would block off a couple hours of their television so that they could still have programming on their TV stations that was it wasn't just running back old movie of the week type stuff. So I think at the time it was a smart move, but again, I think if they would have made that deal today, it would have been a much richer deal, but it would have been a lot more, I think, ROI for them, especially, like they could have made that deal with NXT, and instead of being on the CW, they could have been on Fox. I think, they would have been happy to have it.
Yeah, well, part of what they were looking for too is, and if you remember when they first went on Fox, they were wanting something that fit in with their sports thing. So they were going to have like sports Thursday, Friday, and and Saturday, and it was something that was supposed to fit in that. And if you remember when they first went on Fox, they would do like the tail of the tape for the guys, talk about like their significant wins or victories, or how many times they had held X title, blah blah blah. And they were supposed to have, they were promised all the superstars. And despite what a lot of the pro wrestling rags said, because I think they got most of their information from WWE, Fox was not happy about the brand split because they wanted to use whoever was hot and popular. And they didn't want to find out that a hot and popular person was on the other thing. And so, the story that, it was the networks that really wanted them to keep the brand split. No, not really. They wanted whatever was going to draw them the best ratings. And so,
another thing that people forget too is the WWE coming on Fox was also a direct response to UFC leaving for ESPN.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it would be a bad idea for Fox to have wrestling back on their channel. And as our friend Sean Mega pointed out, Fox is the proprietor of Tubi. Tubi's in business with the WWE. They'll be airing Evolve on Tubi, I think, next month or just a few weeks. So they
bought.
Huh?
Got the ROH slot.
Yeah, the ROH slot with Jericho as world champion. Hey, can I talk about, speaking of ROH, I have a segue. Can we talk about United Wrestling Network real quick?
That sounds like a great idea. Didn't you just recently go to an event there a couple of days ago, Jay?
I did. And the reason why there's a tie there is because a lot of the talent now that you're seeing featured in Ring of Honor happened to be at the show that I went to on Tuesday night. In fact, the opening match of the night had a tag team that you guys might know from Ring of Honor called the Infantry, as they were challenging the United Wrestling Network World Tag Team Champions, the Wolf Status. that was part of
the
Wait, go ahead.
I said that was smaller than the ring that AEW used in Australia.
It's a standard 18-foot ring, I think.
It looked like a 16.
It might be. Hey, it might be. I don't know.
I'm more making fun of the people who were somehow upset over that. I don't get why they were upset. This is one where I don't blame AEW. I think fans are stupid. But
so, anyways, this was the first taping back for the United Wrestling Network. Obviously, 2024 didn't go as planned. 2023 ended on a downer. They had some sponsorship money fall through. They were unable to secure a new TV deal here locally in Southern California. And a lot of the plates that were being spun by a handful of people fell. And the United Wrestling Network, they taped 8 episodes of Championship Wrestling last year. And I don't even know if those ever made it to their markets where the United Wrestling Network currently airs, or if they just went straight to YouTube. I don't even know if they went straight to YouTube. But it was kind of a bummer because as someone who's followed that product, that brand for quite some time, Dave Marquez has really put a lot of heart and effort into that show. And it was sad to see it kind of go on hiatus last year. Longtime fans of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, that product was established in, I want to say 2011, and had been continuously running up until last year. And so it was really disappointing for the brand itself went back to 2007, but they were, in 2006, 2007, they were doing, arena tour shows. And then in 2008, they started doing the NWA Showcase. And then later it was the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, an NWA program. And all of that kind of, they had been progressing for quite some time. And the show itself, this was the longest running show that Championship Wrestling, NWA, Dave Marquez had been producing. So it was really cool to see that, for such a long time. It was a downer to see it go on a hiatus last year, but it was really cool to see it come back. They have new matchmakers, Zicky Dice and Peter Avalon, are also working behind the scenes producing the show, as well as Dave. And the whole setup that they have at the Irvine Improv was different from their previous times there. The camera angles are I think, better. They even have the interview spot now. Instead of being in the ring or backstage, they have a spot literally where they are interviewing talents after the matches. It kind of has that college game day feel where you could see the crowd behind while they're doing the interviews. And I think it added something interesting to the show. They will be back in Irvine on March 25th, a month from the last taping. They had a lot of talent from outside of Southern California at this show. We just showed you the video with the infantry. I believe they're going to be back. I don't know if they'll be at the next show, but I know that the United Wrestling Network executives are high on them. We saw the debut of Maximilian Montclair. We saw Scorpio Sky take on WWE ID talent Ice Williams. Big Mama made her not California, but her Championship Wrestling from Hollywood debut, and she battled Alex Gracia for the Women's World Championship. We saw Aaron Solo, who you'll see, he was also at the AEW TV taping. He wrestled Bryce Saturn. They crowned a new Hollywood Heritage champion. They also had a title match between Danny Limelight and Kenny King. They had a TV title match with Zicky Dice and QT Marshall. And there was such a collection of talent. It wasn't just the Southern California wrestlers that we're super familiar with. There was a mix of talents from AEW, the WWE ID, and then in the next round of tapings, they're going to be featuring some of the talents from TNA. I know that Ace Austin is scheduled to be there. Scorpio Sky will be returning. I also believe that Kenny King will be back on that episode too. So you're seeing a lot of different talents, and I think that's a good thing, not just for United Wrestling Network, but I think for wrestling in general, to have a program like this, a place for people to work that features a lot of different talent and kind of like an amalgamation of guys that aren't necessarily getting the spotlight in other places.
Anything fun happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, the spoilers are all up at alliance-wrestling.com. You can check out the spoilers there. I will say this, Kenny King is a lot better than I thought he was. And that's not to say anything bad about Kenny King. He just really stepped up to the plate. Scorpio Sky looks like $1 million. I don't know why he's not on AEW programming right now. In a weird kind of clash of companies, you know, Scorpio Sky's still under AEW contract. He was in the ring with a guy under WWE ID contract. That was kind of weird. And I don't hate it at all. A lot of the discourse in that match, Ice Williams would say to Sky, "You're past your prime. I'm using you as a stepping stone," literally while stepping on Scorpio Sky. I think it was a fun show, and I can't wait to see it when it gets on TV.
Cool. So, Jay.
Yeah.
Is Championship Wrestling available in New Mexico?
No, but there is a wrestling promotion that is available in New Mexico. Duke.
There is?
Yeah, Duke City Championship Wrestling.
Never heard of them.
Is now going by the moniker of NWA New Mexico. I think during the pre-party I called them NWA Mexico at least once. But, yeah, NWA New Mexico.
More than once.
More than once?
More than once.
I might have been drinking. NWA New Mexico, the home of the Route 66 Championship. And I swear to God, I had that idea 5 years ago. I even have drawings of what I would design the title for. I got ripped off. But Brian Idol is your Route 66 champion, go figure. Natalia Markova made her appearance at this event. In the past, they've used talents like Jacob Fatu. He probably won't be on any more future episodes. They also used Baba Thunder. He wasn't there at the last taping, but he'd been there before. Manny Lemons is a guy who's been a challenger for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And, at this last show that they had on Sunday, the 23rd, they had Poyo Del Mar, manager of champions, was there and was actually managing Brian Idol. Now, I'm not saying what happens in an NWA territory is going to translate to what happens on NWA TV, but especially with a feud but right now between Silas Mason and Brian Idol, would that not be the perfect time to reintroduce Poyo Del Mar as Brian Idol's manager? You'd actually have someone with Idol who could maybe help get him over, right? And the cards kind of line up. I mean, the past relationship that Poyo had with Silas Mason. I mean, I'm waiting to hear what your thoughts are on that one, DK.
I think Markova would get jealous.
As much as we know that they are a real-life couple and we've seen them team together, they don't really play that up on television too often.
They don't, which is good, by the way. I think it's better when you don't. It would make perfect sense.
Which is why the NWA...
Which why won't happen. And if it does happen, then my one fear... here's my problem, is ultimately either Poyo would have to, at some point, turn on Idol and rejoin Thrillbilly.
Or
she would have to help Idol go over Thrillbilly. And as I would really prefer they build Thrillbilly up for a serious run at the world title and not just kind of a one-off match like he had with EC3, then, I wouldn't want Idol to go over, even if it's with... That was rude.
Either with Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Get your cow ready.
Yeah, even with the Thrillbill, even with Poyo's help, it's just one of those things. So that's, but yeah, I don't think they have enough brains to actually do that. My brains and they, I mean Billy. somebody else there might. So it'll be interesting to see if that does translate at some point. And I mean, I don't know if Pollo wants back out in front of the fans.
Why not?
I understand that. Well, I just understand Pollo's very, busy with some behind the scenes stuff. So I don't know. I want her back out with the fans because I love me some Pollo. And actually, I was just thinking I need a chicken sandwich. Anyway,
I'm thinking of chicken tacos.
Either one. So, and Jay looks confused.
I like chicken tacos.
Oh, my phone went off, and Jay looks like he's looking at his. Anyway, back to the main point. Yes, I would. That would be a great idea if they did it right. And honestly, I like the chemistry between Pollo and Throwbilly, so I'd actually rather they would end up back together on some kind of swerve or whatever.
And if you want to be part of the NWA hotline or the alliance-wrestling.com hotline, make sure you call 1-900 each. We
don't care.
Did you know that we have T-shirts available for sale?
Really? Any new ones? Ooh, I like that one. I like all three of them, actually.
The Alliance Blog 07, that is paying homage to the baseball franchise that your pal Jay really adores. And that 07 for when we started doing this whole damn thing. Then you've got the Alliance World Order right there. And, of course, the Hot Rod. All of those are available on the shop. Merch link.
Buy the shirt.
Buy the shirt. Got to start doing some commercials.
The shirt.
I'm going to record that and then play it really fast.
Georgie. Oh, baby.
The shirt.
Buy the shirt.
I think we conjured up the devil.
The Misty Mountain. Sorry.
Oh, anyway. No, do not get their parents' permission. They won't give it to you. So just do it behind their back and ask for forgiveness.
Wait. He isn't encouraging kids to call him. That is not what he's doing here. That is not the message you should be receiving. He was not encouraging anything.
Yeah, like I would answer.
He wouldn't. I've called him. He doesn't answer my phone
calls. I don't answer any phone calls.
I get forward to voicemail. Hi, you reached the offices of
I have a caller ID, and if it's not somebody I know, I ignore it. And if it's somebody I know, I ignore it. Not disturb.
I send them a text message and say, if this could be a text message, let's make it a text message. All right. So we've covered what happened on Power, or no, I'm sorry. We covered what happened with United Wrestling Network this past week. We talked about.
I thought we got lucky.
We talked about a new women's champion for the United Wrestling Network. We talked about NWA New Mexico.
New Heritage Champion, too.
Yeah, New Heritage Champion as well. 976 NWA X.
Which, by the way, that's my favorite Heritage belt of all the Heritage belts.
You don't like the original? I really like the old NWA Heritage title, the one that was supposedly lost.
I liked that one, but I prefer the newest one.
Sure.
I hated the one in between.
The one that had
Adam Pearce on it?
Pierce and Cabana on it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't because they were on it specifically that I hated it. I just don't like that pewter design look.
Jammin, would you still take that phone call from Missy Hyatt? I don't know that I would.
Well, it depends on what she's had to drink that morning.
It's not a hard no. I would think about it.
You're used to the hard R, aren't you, though, Jay?
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we get into Power on this week,
thanks for delaying us. Good job.
Yeah, well, one of the things that they did talk about was, next week where we get the 2 cage matches.
Yep.
And one of those cage matches, of course, happens to be for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, where EC3 defends the title against Tom Latimer.
I think it's the other way around.
Well, is it? Because I'm not really sure who the top person is in the NWA right now, but I'm pretty sure with the way they do things, it's still EC3. So, I mean...
It wasn't Latimer the champion last time I looked?
I think our pal DKM's making a point here where, yes, you are correct, Jaden. The fact is, EC3 is not world's heavyweight champion, but I think what DKM is pointing out is that it feels like EC3 is a bigger deal than our world's heavyweight champion, Tom Latimer, and that can be problematic. Explain that, DK.
That's very problematic because it's shitty booking.
Yeah, I mean, it was one thing when they would hotshot titles, which was a trend I hated. But if your world champion is... And look, you can be the face of something without necessarily being the champion, but your champion's still your top guy. I think a good example of this was Dusty Rhodes and Crockett Promotions from 85 to about 87. Certainly through, 86. In that Dusty was probably the face of the promotion, but you knew the top guy was Ric Flair. And, that's part of the reason Dusty was chasing him. But Dusty also had, other feuds and won other titles during this time, whereas Ric Flair just was your world heavyweight champion. And it's like Tom Latimer's won the world title, but the focus still seems to be around EC3. And not that they're doing the best job of it, as we all know from the run-in that we had with all the mask guys, so we don't know who any of them are, so none of them can get over. And then that went nowhere. But it's still a lot of talk about EC3. I swear we see EC3 more and hear more about him from the NWA than we do Tom Latimer. Well, that's the way it seems to me. Tell me I'm wrong, Jay.
Well, it's hard to tell you that you're wrong on this one because when we look at the NWA, we've seen these pre-taped segments for, the selling tickets in Dothan, Alabama for Hard Times. Like, who do we see in those videos? Carson Drake and his goofy ass. He's your TV champion. We see EC3, the Overman. He's not a champion, but he sure talks like he is one. And you don't get – I don't recall seeing Tom Latimer in one of these segments, telling you to go buy tickets to the Dothan event. And – there is some truth to that. We keep hearing about EC3, who he's trying to make Tom Latimer the opponent he needs. Sorry, had to point that out. Roswell knows I really don't like Carson. I don't. And it's not just because he doesn't know what beta alanine is.
Nope.
I don't like him because I don't think he's good, and I hate what bothers me the most in pro wrestling is when I can't see what you guys see, right? Like I could see, like, look, we were talking about Chris Jericho. He's one of my favorites when he was, in WCW and his WWE run. And if you told me today that you loved Chris Jericho, I could get it. I can understand. There's been a lot of wrestlers that I didn't particularly enjoy, but I could see where they bring value. And Carson Drake just isn't it for me, like, ever at all. And I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent here, but I look at him and, like, how is that over? Why is that interesting or entertaining to anybody? He sounds like somebody who doesn't believe in himself. He sounds like somebody who has a lack of confidence. He sounds like somebody who I think came into pro wrestling because he wanted to be a star, but grew up maybe unliked and underappreciated by his peers. I don't see what he has. I don't see where he's marketable.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
Stay away from this week's JCP because it's all about him. It's 36 minutes of him.
I don't see it. Like, look, here's a guy. When I look at the roster and I see a guy like AJ Kazana, right? And I'm not blowing smoke up AJ's ass because he might be coming on the podcast soon. I actually like AJ Kazana quite a bit, but not because he's coming onto our show, but because I think he's a quality talent. I think he can cut a mean promo. He's believable. He could talk me into a ticket. The only thing, Carson Bartholomew Drake can talk me into is turning off the TV. But I digress. The question was talking about who, if EC3 is the face of the company, why? I mean, if Tom Latimer is your world's heavyweight champion, why does it feel like he's less important than EC3? And I'm curious as to what you think about that, Jaden.
He's not less important. He's an afterthought, which I think is even worse.
Oh, gosh.
Either Tom Latimer wasn't the guy that should have had the world heavyweight title on him, which I may or I've never really been a Tom Latimer fan, but I can see where his value is.
Sure.
Just because I'm not a fan, I don't. He's not like Carson Drake, where I think he's not something I want on the program at all. I could definitely see his value, but I don't think they did a really good job in any way, shape, or form. I think it was, oh, you know what? Tom's stuck with us. Let's put the world title on to thank him. All right, he's got the world title. They did a better job booking Ronnie Garvin. All right, when he was world heavyweight champion, not all the time, but when he was the NWA world heavyweight champion. And everybody knows what a bad failure it was. And it wasn't Ronnie Garvin's fault. Ronnie Garvin was very over. And I think with a good plan, I think there could have been something great. Sting's first reign, they had no plan. And I think that hampered Sting for the rest of his career until he became a Jason Lee wannabe. That's the problem, is they put the title on them and then they don't know what to do from that point forward. And that's why, generally speaking, in wrestling, generally speaking, except for in New York, the heel champion was the one that made the money. And because there was money in the chase, but once they got the belt, they didn't know what to do with the person. You ever watch Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner?
Of course, yeah.
There was an episode where the Roadrunner caught Wile E. Coyote, and he grabs a sign and says, "Are you always wanting me to catch him? Now what?" And that's the problem, because nobody wants to see really Wile E. Coyote catch the Roadrunner. I kind of did, because I somehow associate with Wile E. Coyote super genius, but they wanted to see the chase. They wanted to see him chase after him and crash into things and fall off of cliffs and stuff.
Yeah,
and keep the Acme prop company in business.
Look, we all know that in the real world, coyotes run faster than roadrunners. So my entire childhood was a lie. And yes, in real life, that is true. Coyotes are faster.
Very true. But yeah, that's the problem, is they didn't have a real plan, 20 years or not, to really what to do with Latimer to make him important. And his title reign has just been an afterthought. What big moment, other than winning the belt, happened in Tom Latimer's? Any moment? Right now, his highlight's beating Brian Idle twice.
Shit. Look, and those weren't even televised. We haven't gotten that moment with Tom Latimer, and a part of it too is this: like, when you look at the way that the NWA has booked it, it's something you said was very, very on the nose. And I don't think they had a plan for Tom. I think the idea was like, hey, we need a strong challenge for EC3 to help make his legacy, make his reign. Well, let's use Tom, because they didn't really build up Tom. I mean, Tom was the national champion, and he won that title how? When EC3 forfeited it, right? That's how Tom won the title. He won it, the national title after.
No, I think actually when Thrillbilly forfeited it, right?
Right.
He did it too.
Yeah, but EC3 forfeited to Thrillbilly won it, and when
you're
Thrillbilly
right.
forfeited,
okay, you're right. So the connection there. I mean, he didn't. And then, like, who did he beat to win the title? I think he pinned Burchill, who doesn't have a win in the NWA. They haven't done anything to make Latimer special, except for, we still use him. He's still on our TV program. They don't show us a behind the scenes look at Tom Latimer. He doesn't get that same level of promo time that EC3 has gotten. And maybe that's his own choice. I don't know. But they don't do a whole lot to make Tom feel special. And then what you said, where it was his defining moment as world champion, they haven't given it to him. And let's be honest too. He won the title in September. These matches that we're watching today in March were filmed in December. So he may have that moment at some point, and it just hasn't been televised. Which, again, I think that's a more to do with the NWA and its poor taping schedule than it is Tom Latimer, right?
Well, I mean, it's still a flaw on their fault that none of us can point out to a top Tom Latimer moment. I heard Jaden compare it to Ronnie Garvin. I'm going to make a slightly different comparison. I'm going to compare it to Stan Hansen in AWA.
Yep.
He had moments, though.
Well, Stan Hansen was supposed to win the title from Rick Martel and lose the title to Rick Martel, and somewhere in there, Rick Martel went to WWE, I think. And so he never really had a big feud. He had some matches. I mean, the only strong challenger he had was Sergeant Slaughter.
Not true. I'm going to argue on that one because I was watching this part of recently. He went against who's the big heavy guy? I can't think of his name now. I just lost it. But he Jerry Blackbell. He had some matches with Jerry Blackbell in a feud. He had a match against Leon White before that was anything that big. But he also had matches against David Sammartino. He had matches against Sergeant Slaughter. He had matches against Nick Bockwinkel. He did defend it in Japan. So he had big matches on television for that championship. Kurt Hennig.
He only had 2 title defenses in Japan in the early part of his reign. I remember I would always read, he defended title more in Japan. No, because Japan doesn't defend titles a lot. And so he had 2 title matches in Japan. I had it one time. I found it somewhere, and I found all his title defenses, and I looked. And there's not really like rhyme or reason to most of them. I think he defended against Nick Bockwinkel some too. But it was in a younger Kurt Hennig and everything like that. But there was no big. Sergeant Slaughter was like his only real. There may have been one other guy that he had a few matches with, but he had like 5 matches with Sergeant Slaughter over 6 months, and that was kind of like the top guy he wrestled. He had a couple of defenses against Rick Martel while Rick Martel was out with his back injury, just right after he won the title, and then I think he actually had. In Rick Martel's go-away match, finally, they faced each other just not too long before he gave the title up, so to speak. So there was nothing, and you can listen to Stan Hansen interviews, and especially the later ones where he's a little more embittered. He'll tell you that they didn't really do anything with him. They had no plan for him. The idea wasn't to make a lot of money with him. The idea was to, he was a transitional champion who they didn't really know who they were transitioning the title to.
And don't forget, the belt was bought. Baba did pay for him to be champion. Don't forget about that too.
I guess. I mean, I've heard that before. It's just I've never heard it from Baba or from Hansen or from Gagne. So,
well, yeah, but not in those days. Nobody said it.
Well, I'm just talking about since. According to Stan Hansen, he did not want the title. According to Stan Hansen, he never wanted the title. He had no interest in being a top champion in the U.S. He made more money overseas with Baba. That was his primary guy. They wanted to put the title on him to give Martel a break from being. I mean, Martel has like the 3rd longest title reign in AWA history. And, the plan was to put it back on him that he was, Hansen was going to do the favor for him in Montreal so that, Martel could regain the title there. And it just, what the hell was that?
What I posted?
Yeah, what did you just put up?
Yeah, that was an accident, but Noob had just said in the chat that the NWA made another match announcement and for Hard Times, and we're going to get Mike Mondo versus Max the Impaler. Oh, boy. I don't know. I don't know what you want to do with Max the Impaler, and it's kind of an enigma because of being non-binary, and I respect that. I'm okay with that. But the fact that Max is competing against men and women make it very difficult to gauge what they want to do with Max going forward. I mean, Max should be challenging for the women's world title. I don't think Max should be challenging for Tom's title or really any of the men's titles. That's my opinion. And if Max is going to be in the men's division, Mike Mondo is a guy who has potential to be something big for the company sooner than later. I don't know what the benefit is of putting him in a match with Max the Impaler. Who
did he piss off?
There's no storyline to connect it. And we'll get to that later on Power about disjointed storylines and them trying to make something out of nothing. But like, I get at some point you have wins and losses and those should matter. But again, that's not even something that the NWA subscribes to. So if that's what they're doing here, then okay, let's see where it goes, I guess. But, as of right now, there's not a women's world title match announced for Hard Times.
No, that's because there's a tag team title match.
Interesting to note here that Big Mama has the NWA tag team title over her shoulder, and Kenzie Page has the Burke over her shoulder. And that's interesting because, Mama is also your TV champion. And Kenzie is also your tag champion. It's interesting that they decided to showcase that Burke title over her shoulder.
I mean, she hasn't had a TV singles title match in the NWA ever, or on NWA Power, I should say, ever. So
can I break the fourth wall here? I got to talk to Big Mama in Irvine before the United Wrestling Network program, and I said, "Hey, champ." She looked over at me like I was crazy, and I said, "Hey, congratulations! I saw you on Power winning the tag titles." And she goes, "Oh, thanks." I go, "Yeah, I had not seen you wrestle before the 76th anniversary show, and I saw you there. And then a few weeks later, you're the TV champion, but we haven't even seen you defend the title on Power." And she just kind of smiled and she goes, "They just had something else in store for me." And I said, "Great. I mean, I'm glad to see you with the tag titles, but sure it'd be nice to see that TV title defended." And, and then I did the awkward thing of putting her in a position where she has to defend really bad booking. But, and she didn't. She just said, "Well, yeah, they had something else for me." And I didn't want to grill her on it because I wanted her to come on the podcast at some point. But it's one of those deals where, like, between the U.S. tag titles that Billy said on television are going to be predominantly used as a territory title, and the fact that Mama won the title in NWA Chicago, and she's slated to be back in Chicago, and it looks like she's going to defend the TV title in Chicago. It feels like that title has been also, bequeathed. That's not the right word.
Regulated, maybe.
Sure.
As Jay is trying to recover from that embarrassing moment.
It seems like that title is now going to be more of a territorial title as well, which leads me to believe, like, at least the NWA understands that there is a lack of quality challengers for these belts. But I don't. Again, I don't know. Do we want to go through the rest of the announced Hard Times roster, DK?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I'll give a quick thought on Max versus Mondo.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that was my quick thought. So Jaden stole it from me. my thought on the World Women's Tag Team Championship match.
Yeah.
Is I would want more for Tiffany, but it's like I almost feel like they need to switch the titles because I don't like them on Mama and Kenzie. And yeah, I don't like the tag team of Nevis and Star, but I almost think that they need to win the titles just to get them off. Get them off for champions.
I would have thought, I think I still have the thought that Hollywood Haley J and Tiffany Nieves would have been a better combination for tag titles to challenge for the tag titles to be tag team champions than Miss Star and Nieves. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that Hollywood Haley J there was ever plans to use her as much as people thought. I put on Discord when the Colognes ended up in TNA or something like that. You know, my basic thing is you know, this isn't 2024 or 2023 or whatever year it was. They kept announcing everybody who was signed.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't announced so-and-so is signed with the NWA now in ages. Hell, half the people they announced we never saw again. Remember Tyler, whatever, Rising?
Taylor Rising. Yeah, well, she did. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I mean, she made like one or two appearances, and then everybody noted that the thing wasn't on her stuff when she went to do that Canadian promotion that people for some reason think is a big deal. And I just don't. I mean, yeah, I would say retire them, but it's not likely to happen. I've been telling them to retire the national title forever, and they won't do that. They need to retire the television title. They're not going to have anybody defend it, you know.
Men's and women's.
Well, yeah, basically. I guess Carson's at least out on the TV title is what's becoming another territory title.
Yeah.
Carson Drake's on the territories more than, you know, defending it more than he is on Power, which is fine. Except for I still watch some of the territory shows, and I don't want to see him there either.
Well,
and I'm really sick of Aaron Stevens on the territories.
The other thing you have to look at too, and it's the NWA's fault. You got to give them the blame. We're getting title match. We're getting title match announcements for a show that's going to take place in less than a month, but those matches won't air for at least 3 months. Like these matches that are being taped in March, theoretically won't be seen on NWA television till at least June, and I know that because look, and let me. I think I have the graphics still. You know, after they were in Dothan, they were in your neck of the woods in January for Shockwave. And after Shockwave, you know what else they filmed? TV matches in February. And so that's each one of those events is at least 4 shows, which means that each one of those events is at least 4 weeks of TV. So between the TV tapings on February 2nd and Shockwave from January 11th, that's 8 weeks of programming. And we're still not even through Looks That Kill. Looks That Kill will probably conclude next week, which then means there's 8 weeks of programming, 2 months before whatever's filmed in for Hard Times 5 makes TV. So we'll say 2 months and a week. So 2 months and a week puts us in April.
Well, let's go through the hard time matches still, because it seems like one of them was to set up a top contender for 77.
Yeah, I think, and I'll get to that one just a second. But we do have We did the women's tag team match. We have the national title on the line, Mims versus Wrecking Ball Legursky. And now, DK, when I sent this to you in the chat, you said, oh, I like this. And I do too. I think Wrecking Ball Legursky as a tag team with Jay Bradley has been a lot of fun. But I think there's a lot of value in Wrecking Ball Legursky in a singles run. And having him challenge the national champion Mims, again, I advocate for wins and losses being important and wins and losses mattering, but that looks like a fun match. What's your thoughts on that, DK?
Yeah, the match itself is something I'm very interested in. I hope that between all these TV tapings that they've done, that before they show us the match, they give us a reason for it.
Yeah.
But just in isolation, as I like to say, a match between Wrecking Ball and Mims sounds like a good match to me.
Yeah.
If Mims wins, it's a good win for Mims. And dog over here has gas.
Jaden, I know that you've seen Wrecking Ball Legursky up close and personal with the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator events. What are your thoughts on a singles run with Wrecking Ball Legursky going after that national title?
I don't know who Dr. Zirconium has him booked when he wrestles on April 17th at Rowan University. C-plug. But he is a very good, competent tag team and singles wrestler. In fact, outside of the NWA, I don't see him in very many tag team matches. He does much more singles wrestling. So maybe this is a sign for that they're going to do something with him. And, we know the NWA has a long-term booking. They don't have any kind of plan on a 20-year one. And if there is a 21-year one, they need to rip it up and start from scratch and make a new one when somebody knows how to make a plan. But hopefully, win, lose, or draw, Wrecking Ball Legursky comes out bigger and better out of this and actually starts getting notice where his talent does come through. Kind of reminds me, one of my favorite matches, it's real hard to find, is Bam Bam Bigelow and Big Van Vader versus Doom. Yeah, and this has a Bam Bam Bigelow versus Ron Simmons feel to it, kind of, a little bit to me.
I mean, I could totally see that. And by the way, you sound like C-3PO.
C-3PO, human-cyber relations.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a very good match. I feel like this is going to be a very good match. And they're calling it the number one contenders for the NWA World Women's Championship at NWA 77. That's Kylie Page versus Natalia Markova. Now, Kylie Page has quietly collected a lot of victories, not just in the NWA, but also at the territory level. And then you have Natalia Markova, one of the unsung heroes of the women's division in the NWA. She's really kind of been able to fit in anywhere they put her. And my question to you, DK, is what do you think of this matchup? And what do you think of the NWA kind of showing their hands and saying, hey, look, one of these two ladies would be challenging for the Burke at 77?
Well, the first thing it does make you wonder if something else has happened with the Burke, or if they want to plan a sister versus sister match. Look, it's hard for me to get excited because the last time Markova was the number one contender, they fucked that up pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so it is difficult for me to get excited over a match. And what should happen is Markova winning over one sister and then winning the title over the other sister. And so we can finally be done with the Cody chasing Roman storyline.
Yeah.
I have no faith in them. And so I see it possibly being a sister versus sister match, or who knows, somebody else could win the title in between. And we could end up with, like Kylie versus Tiffany or something. I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything. I'm just throwing that out.
I have a funny story about Kylie Page.
Let's hear it.
If you look up Kylie Page, you get an adult actress who looks quite different. But also, the Notorious Mimi wrestled her recently and called her Kylie Nicole and put over how talented she is and how good of a match they had. And maybe that match should happen in the NWA. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, if anybody in the NWA is listening. Notorious Mimi is an excellent addition to the NWA if you're looking to do such a person and actually have somebody who's a WWE NXT experience and name value and a look and Monster Factory graduate and stuff like that. So, hint, hint, nudge. But I just find it funny that she calls her, and a lot of people in wrestling call her Kylie Nicole and not Kylie Page.
Well, so her shoot name is Kylie Alexa Henry. At least that's a story I've been told. Like, it's Kenzie Page. That Page is Kenzie's middle name. Henry's her shoot last name. They're the Henry sisters. Their father owns Crossfire. So Kylie Alexa is what she's known in a lot of other places, but Kylie Nicole is a surprise to me.
Or maybe she just got the name wrong too, but I've heard more than one person call her Kylie Nicole. So maybe that was her original gimmick name?
Maybe.
It might have been.
Okay, let's move on. I know we're already kind of getting close to a full night here, and we haven't even talked about this week's Power. We're going to get a return bout between Idol and Silas. Of course, this match, it didn't end well last time for for Brian Idol. I know that when he went to dive out there, he ate all of that chair and some of the floor on the outside of the ring. He's healed up. He's wrestling now. So this one might be another one of those, the kids call them bangers. Hopefully we get the match that we were supposed to get from Looks at Kill. DK, you have anything you want to add to that?
Hope it lives up to the hype. I hope Throwbilly goes over, but I hope it lives up to the hype.
A match like this could really establish Idol too. Like, this is one of those instances where, if Silas Mason goes over, which I'm assuming he will, it doesn't kill Brian Idol to get over. Like, he could still get over it with the loss if he puts out a real valiant effort and, of course, avoids injury. And then this match, I think, ties back to NWA Shockwave. At least I think so, because they're going to crown a number one contender for the World Heavyweight title. They're calling it a World Heavyweight title opportunity, and they're calling it the Dane Memorial Heavyweight Tournament Finals. Now, before Jax passed away, we know that the NWA was promoting a tournament to crown a number one contender for the World's Heavyweight Championship in Forney, Texas. Could this be an extended tournament that ends at Hard Times, or do you think that this has nothing to do with that, DK?
I honestly don't know, because, again, we're approaching 2 months since the Forney show.
Yeah.
And so I would think they would be different things. But on the other hand, we don't know of anybody that's faced Latimer since.
Well, we know that at at NWA Shockwave, we know Aaron Stevens gets a shot at the 10 pounds of gold. So it's kind of out of left field, but I don't know if I still have the graphic for that. Yeah. We know that Shockwave, Stevens gets an opportunity against Tom Latimer. And this was, again, Shockwave was announced. The card started rolling out before we heard that Jack Stain had passed away. And I could very easily see them saying, hey, we've got this tournament to crown a new, to crown a number one contender for the title, the opportunity. We've got this 8-man tournament. We've already got guys lining up to be in the tournament, like Sam Adonis taking on Colby Carino and Tyler Franks to get that play-in spot for that number 8 seed. I could see that tournament being a big part of the Shockwave premium live event, and with those matches then filtering to Hard Times. And again, if they were smart with the way that they taped their schedule, the matches that were filmed at Tampa as part of the regular TV tapings, if they were smart, none of those matches would be of consequence. All of those matches would just be like putting over our big guys and building some heat for these guys without having really any true consequences to storyline. Because then when you get to, releasing these matches on tape, they might use some of the matches from Tampa before they release Forney, and then release some of those matches after Forney to lead up to Shockwave, or to lead up to Hard Times. But that's overthinking it, I know, and that's putting more thought into it than the NWA has, I know. But, we didn't know that Jack Stain had passed away until after December 25th, after Christmas. The news kind of broke on the 26th. And so when they got to Forney on the 11th in January, they could have easily said, okay, we're going to pay homage to the former world's heavyweight champion, the Dane Event. And I mean, I don't hate that idea, but like that to me makes sense, because they're saying it's the tournament finals at Hard Times. So maybe that, they don't actually crown a number one contender during Shockwave, and they hold off.
Yeah, and they might. It's weird to hold off over 2 months, but again, this is NWA we're talking about.
Remember how they did the Crockett Cup last year?
I try not to. But yeah, but at least they did the majority of the tournament in the one night.
Yeah.
So, including the finals. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, it's not going to surprise me one way or the other, because, like I said, there's not been any surprise. Oh, Tom Latimer's defending the title against so and so, and we find out that's because so and so won the title at won the number one contenders tournament, and they don't say where the rest of that tournament's being held. Maybe they're going to go all AEW on us and just hold tournaments for the fun of holding a tournament. And that's how they're always going to crown their number one contenders. I don't know. Hopefully, although it's not a good choice, it's almost like the best of all the bad options they have is do a tournament through the semifinals in Forney, do the finals at Hard Times, and then I would assume have title match at 77. And the main key is that it not be EC3. So that's the main key. And then
I gave the NWA too much credit. Maybe they did the first round in Forney and they did the second round at the Tampa tapings, and now the final.
Yeah, I don't think they're that smart.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm tired of tournaments. I used to love when a tournament was happening. I loved King of the Ring. I loved the Super 8. Now I'm just, anytime anybody announces a tournament, I go, ugh. I think that's why Dr. Zirconium does matches or 4-way elimination matches to crown new champions, because how everybody else ruined tournaments. Got questions for J. Cal, Jaden, and DKM in chat. Do you think this NWA is NWA's last chance to put? Yes. If she doesn't get the women's title, we riot. Where's the 76, by the way?
77.
The 77.
And I don't know that they've announced, have they? Was there supposed to be a big announcement? Was there? I don't remember.
Is Billy having another kid?
Well, I thought somebody said there was going to be an announcement, and honestly, if they made one, I missed it, because some people were thinking that maybe it was going to be where the 76 was. And so, I don't know.
All along, if I was building up Markova, I would have had the tag title on her first on the TV, and then got her for a world title. Because of the stupid booking of that Battle Royal she won, and then she immediately lost her shot and didn't really even lose her shot. I would have been building Markova up for over the entire year, getting her tag team title win, maybe split with her partner afterwards because we all know Billy likes splitting up partners. Get a TV title win, and then at 76, get her world championship match. Get a whole year of that, build up some kind of story. Boy, that sounds familiar. But Markova right now, I don't even know. Markova is another example, I think, of somebody where she needs to go away, learn a new hold, or maybe go to greener pastures.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like she certainly seemed to have been kind of screwed over. And I don't mean that in that type of way. So, Rosville says he doesn't think it would be last chance. But if she doesn't win, we'll just stop waiting for it. I don't know. It's just, look, people could go years and years and years to challenge for the world title. Some never won it. And so, Ted DiBiase in the NWA. But then, Ted DiBiase had the option to go to different areas.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
What'd you do now?
Okay. I think we're okay. Are we online?
This is what happened last night when my interviews start pooping out.
Are we still on?
Yeah. No, we're still on.
Okay. Because I don't think I have. Yes. So there I see it now.
Okay.
I'm always on. I don't know about you guys.
Well, it's what you're on that worries us.
Or what I should be on.
I'll be right back, guys.
Again? Well, you just said a lot. And so anyway, let's see.
I said just for a second.
Well, I didn't trust you.
No one does.
Rosville says Billy has an announcement. He thinks it's NWA Chicago related, but he doesn't know. I don't know. I just seem to remember that he was going to have an announcement, but I thought it was supposed to be on the show, but I may have just assumed that when I first read it, but I could be totally crazy. So, are there any other matches already scheduled for? Let's wrap that up.
Yeah. So I think that's it as far as the 76 or 77 and hard times. I think that's it as far as hard time goes. Of course, more matches will be added, and we'll be discussing those when they do. Of course, the NWA has a bunch of shows that are always happening. They have the tour in New York this weekend. They'll be back in New York and in New Jersey as part of the NWA on tour, working with Championship Entertainment Productions. And, of course, then they'll be back in Texas, back in Forney with NWA Texas this weekend as well. So there's a lot of live events coming up. DKM had to take off, so I think we'll be talking about Power here in just a second. But, so Power this week, we'll get to it just because I know it's starting to get late in the night. Again, this is the fourth offering from the signature live event, Looks a Kill. This show, I was really hopeful that it was going to be, at the very least, entertaining, at the most, a really good show. And I don't think I got really any of that. And to be fair, I did enjoy watching Spencer Slade throw junior heavyweights around the ring, and I guess we're going to call Spencer Slade a junior heavyweight. But outside of that, I didn't really think much of this week's episode of Power. Last week, I said, hey, we had Thrillbilly Silas Mason, feed Brian Idol a chair, and the show ended kind of abruptly after that. I felt like maybe some of these matches could have been smushed into that. We could have taken this from a 4 or 5 week thing to a 3 or 4 week thing. Again, recording these shows back in December, I think it really does hurt the momentum of the show.
Yeah, this show was so last year. Jay, stop wiping that Colombian marching powder off your nose.
That's not what it is. The mustache hairs grow up sometimes, and they get in your nose, and it's not fun.
Pluck it.
Normally,
not Jeremiah.
We're doing a live stream right now.
Just thought Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
He's a good friend of mine.
Never understood a single word he said.
I don't remember the next line.
Yeah.
But I helped him drink his wine.
Oh.
He sure had some mighty fine wine.
So the show kicks off with Aaron Stevens and Blunt Force Trauma celebrating the fact that Odinson will not be participating in the wrestling that tonight. Odinson had in fact been injured during the match between Daisy Kill and Talos. I don't recall Odinson looking hurt during that match, but that's what they're playing up. That's what they said anyways. And from what they said, it was a torn bicep, which I think that's a very long recovery process. So sucks for Odinson. I hope he heals up quick because he is one of the enjoyable tag team wrestlers in the NWA, and I hope that to see him sooner than later.
Hopefully he stops doing that stupid forearm then uppercut.
Maybe that's what stopped. Maybe that's how he heard it. So we get that, and of course, then they have Kratos, and he's talking about he needs a mystery partner, and it was a well produced segment, and I do enjoy these. But again, it didn't really tell us much, and the rivalry between Kratos and Stevens continues long after that Stevens has been wrestling, and this whole fiasco of Blunt Force Trauma and Kratos, it continues on. So the first match that we get of the night is the junior heavyweight #1 contenders match in a 4-way. And I just feel like, again, if these things were booked better, we wouldn't have to have weird matches like this to establish a #1 contender. You would just have a guy who is so undeniably good that he would be given a title shot instead of, stupid ways to crown a #1 contender. Lev and Misery, as we know from a few weeks ago, became de facto partners in this match because Lev is the servant of Alex Misery. He won his servitude, and a loser serves the other match. So the story of this is we're supposed to see a #1 contender. What we get is basically Spencer Slade throwing around junior heavyweights, and I'm all right with that, by the way. TKM has said that Spencer Slade kind of fits right in the junior heavyweight division. For me, he sticks out like a sore thumb. Slade is bigger, stronger, faster than his contemporaries. These junior heavyweights, especially these three guys, are small by industry standards for junior heavyweights. And if this was like a mixed martial arts, this would probably be like featherweight wrestlers or bantamweight wrestlers. I don't think any of those guys in the ring were over 150 pounds. So with that being said, it was fun watching Slade throw him around. Slade at one point literally does a belly to back suplex where he takes Drake, just tosses him behind himself, and Drake lands on Lev and Alex Misery, and that was a fun spot for me. Hunter recovers quickly. He lands a pitch perfect drop kick right on the Slade's face. This match was pretty competitive, where throughout the course of the match, Misery is having Lev get on all fours so that he can use him as a prop to jump off of. He even did like a Harding-esque dive on top of Slade. There was a lot of bickering between Misery and Lev too. Like, I don't think their relationship is very long.
Are we getting sound of a guitar?
Yeah, I think it was DK.
Oh.
Anyway, so the match is mostly just Slade throwing guys around. He gets the victory with what they called the Slade lock. Essentially, it was like a combination where the ankle lock meets the Texas cloverleaf, and I thought it looked pretty cool in a sense that I hadn't seen something like that before. But it was kind of clunky and complicated for Slade to get in. If he is going to be like this pure wrestler going into the junior heavyweight division, then I'm okay with it. But it seems like, especially him, he he got the power. And if he wants to throw these guys around, I'm okay with him doing that. Give me a Steiner screwdriver on Lev. Let me see, a belly to back, overhead throw on Alex Misery. These guys were just there to make Slade look like a dude that Slade is. So I was happy with the results of that match.
In WCW, Chris Candido did a gimmick as the Cruiserweight Bully.
Yeah.
I could see Spencer Slade doing that well. Well, I haven't seen the match, but I can see based on what I know about Spencer Slade and how much I put him over, that it would be a very good match.
Again, I don't see him being a part of the junior heavyweight division, but it's not my company to book, right? He will dwarf Alex Taylor. He'll make Alex Taylor look small. And I guess that's okay if you want Slade to be your guy, but they also treat the junior heavyweight title as an opening act. Last week, Alex Taylor defended that title in the opening match. This week, the number one contender was the first match on the card. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but Slade, to me, I think has the ability, has the potential, has the value to be up higher on the card than the opening round. So I know that's just a matter of opinion, and I would love to hear what DKM thought of that match.
Well, first, I hate four-way matches. Second, the match seemed to focus more on the Misery-Lev dynamic than it did on it being a number one contenders match.
Yeah.
I have no problem believing Slade's a junior heavyweight because we all know Hunter Drake makes me sad. And he didn't look dominatingly, horribly big over him. Just he looked like a man and a boy. So, like you said, everybody in there was at best 150 pounds, except for Hunter Drake, who was probably $130. And so Slade naturally. I mean, if Slade's 200 pounds, he looks huge compared to them. And so I thought in many ways this was the best Slade looked, in that they really did show a guy who was throwing people around, was beating up, was using wrestling, was kind of a badass. If they just get rid of Rolando.
And I'll be honest, in that role, I didn't mind Rolando. If he was outside the ring and not inside the ring, that's a step in the right direction for me. Now, if they could get him into the ticket booth, if they can get him into the concession stand, if he could sell T-shirts, I would appreciate that more. But I mean, at the end of the day, he wasn't wrestling, so that was a benefit for me.
If they get him in a concession stand, maybe he could sell short ribs.
Maybe, and more importantly, he didn't talk. So, the right guy won, although it was weird that you saw a submission ending in a four-way. And that,
a four-way junior heavyweight match.
Right. That was kind of bizarre. More bizarre than bad. Just like, okay, in matches where people break up pins all the time, to get a submission with somebody crawling into the ring to try and stop it was just, I don't know, it was just weird. And again, I hate multi-person matches for stuff like that. So most of it I didn't care about. Most of it was bad. Most of it wasn't even about being a number one contender for the junior heavyweight title. It was about whether Lev and Misery are, hate each other and all that stuff. And, the plus Slade looked good. And Slade's a number one contender. And Slade, I think, would make a good world champion. I think he's somebody who you could sell as a world champion in a way that's better than Alex Taylor. And Alex Taylor's done a good job. But again, we're talking about somebody who's maybe $170. And,
I will say this. Slade is like maybe the only guy on the roster right now who I could see legitimately being the guy that had held the junior heavyweight title before moving on to holding the world heavyweight title.
Yeah. And so I would like to see Slade up against not a Thrillbilly per se, but a guy that's probably legit, 230, 240.
Like Mims, Carson Drake.
Mims, I think Mims would be a good choice.
I wouldn't mind seeing him against Colby and or Martin either. I know they're smaller guys, but I think that's more what he should be into right now until he does get a little bigger and he does get some wins on him and does get some impression. And I know you guys hate the fact that it's considered an opening match. Do you know what the second most important match on the card is?
No, I get that. I do get that, but I feel like I understand what you're saying, but I feel like the junior heavyweight is always put in that position. Like, this would have been a good week to have Alex Taylor defend the title in the main event. Like, he's a champion. Why is the champion not defending in a main event on a segmented program where, like, tonight's main event wasn't that good?
Well, what would have made more sense is if they had put in if they had done like a number one contender, if they had done the tag team match that quote unquote main evented, although that was hardly a main event, but if they had put the tag team match on, the number one contenders match, and then the title match, where the guy who wins the middle one, will challenge the winner of the main event tonight, then that makes it seem like, you're rising up in importance and it makes it seem, bigger and more important and everything. And, here's this main event. It's the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. But, they don't, hey, look, on the match where the women's tag team title changed hands, the opening match was the World Tag Team titles, men's World Tag Team titles. So, again, I don't know every rhyme or reason as to why they do things the way they do, only that I rarely agree with the way they do things. So what was the next match?
So the next match takes us to we get Mike Mondo and Paul, just Burchill, I guess. Now, Kyle interviews Mike Mondo before the match, and Mondo makes it very clear that there's a grudge going back 20 years, and that I guess Burchill refused to shake Mondo's hand 20 years ago. And it's funny how the way Mondo makes it sound, he makes it sound like Burchill made it, like Burchill main event of WrestleMania. It was the top guy. He was the draw. And when in reality, Burchill did have a fairly successful run in the WWE for a short time. It was not long lived. He's not known as one of the guys who like made their name in pro wrestling. He's just like everyone else trying to get back into the business, and use the NWA for that opportunity. I did the research, and according to Cage Match, the last time Burchill and Mondo even shared a ring together was back in 2007. And during the commentary of this match, Joe Galley pointed out that, having a grudge for 20 years over a handshake is ludicrous. And I kept thinking to myself, yeah, this whole match, the whole storyline involved with this match is ludicrous. The guys didn't even share a ring for but 3 times. And the entire time they were in Ohio Valley together. They shared a one-on-one match 1 time before this. They've only been in the ring with each other 3 times total, and they're building a storyline because of a handshake. That's how you want to build Mondo? That's, who guy had a fairly decent run, again, with the Spirit Squad, and Burchill, the Pirate, again, Roswell says, I appreciate the attempt at the storyline, but you do a prequel to the story first before you make it make it up as you go. It just, to me, it was not, it was nothing. We're talking about somebody got snubbed and he's been sitting on it for 20 years. If that's who Mondo is, then Mondo's a piece of shit and he shouldn't be working for your company.
Wait a minute. What do you have against guys that hold grudges forever?
I don't have a problem with guys that hold grudges forever. I have a problem with guys that hold grudges over a handshake.
It's respect in the wrestling. If somebody disrespects you, you hold that grudge.
Sure. Okay. I'm wrong. Okay.
No, you're not. I mean, look, we can talk about this from the backstage wrestling perception. And, look, top wrestlers have even argued over what the handshake really is or really means. Al Snow has said some things and others have said things about whether it's really a big deal or not a big deal. And so you take that out and you just look at it from a fan base. Nobody gives a shit whether he shook his hand 20 years ago. And nobody wants to see a feud built on the fact that he may or may not have shaken his hand 20 years ago.
And if that's the genesis of the heat between these two, and he's so angry, why wasn't he more relentless in this match? I mean, he was in the match. Mondo was definitely more aggressive for sure. Burchill was playing more defensive the entire match. Yes. But do you know how Mondo won this match, Jaden? I know you don't because you didn't watch, but
yes, won. I do. Ha! Go ahead.
How did he win? Tell me.
He won by after he got around, he kicked him with the back heel kick into the groin.
Oh,
so, ha!
What? You must have went to the Alliance guys or the alliance-wrestling.com website and read the results.
Or he was paying attention when I told the story before we got on the air.
Yeah, that's actually probably what happened.
So, I mean,
unlike apparently somebody else.
No, I was doing my Bolivian marching powder, I guess is what it's called.
Probably. Actually, you may have gone somewhere when we talked about it.
Oh, I went and got food. I got a bag of Cheetos. Anyways, this to me was a very disappointing match. Like when I saw that this match was going to happen, I thought, well, this will steal the show. These are both two really good wrestlers, and we're going to get a really good wrestling match. And that's not what we got here. We got like a half-ass attempt at a feud, a half-ass attempt at a storyline, and it ended with a kick to the balls behind the referee's back. I'm not convinced that this was the best booked match in the NWA, and it was certainly one of the worst booked matches I've seen in a while. So it was a very pedestrian match, nothing happened, very uninteresting, and to me, a disappointment.
I thought DK had a different outlook on it. Is that true, DK?
Yes, it actually is. I enjoyed the match. I liked seeing the two guys get in there and kind of, lay into each other. I mean, for me, in ring, again, when you isolate things, in ring, it was certainly the best match of the night and maybe one of the best matches of the event. And so I enjoyed the match until the end.
Okay.
And I agree with Jay. Dumbass thing to be mad about, to build a feud on. Dumbass, half-ass, whatever attempt to make us want to care. But in isolation, the actual match itself, yeah, I enjoyed. And, well, apparently he took offense to that. And
for something to blow my nose on, and I don't have anything.
Well,
that's not right, man. That's not professional.
If you stop snorting all that stuff during the show, and what are we talking about? Oh yes, ooh,
biggest pop of the night right
now. No kidding. And yeah, and look, I'll be the first to tell you, Jaden and I were talking about this beforehand, and I hated the finish, just absolutely hated it. And, and Jaden and I were both saying how this is actually kind of a classic end to a match in wrestling. The heel does something crooked behind the ref's back and, and gets the cheap win and everything. And it's like, and I know it. And that is, and, the idea is because this now draws the feud out because you want to see Burchill get his revenge and blah, blah, blah. But I hated it back in the day, and I hate it today.
Could you imagine had Michael P.S. Hayes and let's just say Kerry Von Erich, right there, world class in the Dallas Sportatorium, and this feud is getting to a high level. They're costing each other matches, they're beating each other whenever they can, and then the finish of their first match is Michael P.S. Hayes distracts the referee so that he can kick Kerry in the balls.
100%. I think it actually happened.
It may have happened. I don't remember.
Yeah, I actually think it did happen, at least in a tag match or something like that.
But yeah,
hey, I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong, right? I'm willing to admit, but to me, it just there was no storyline that made this interesting, and to finish it like that didn't make it any better.
I'll tell you though, it wouldn't be Michael P.S. Hayes who would have won that way. It would have been Buddy Roberts who won that way. And so I could see that being like, in a Buddy versus Kevin match or something like that. And yeah, you're just kind of left feeling it's like you're pissed off, but not the right type of pissed off. Or at least I'm not.
Yeah.
The fans back in that day, they blew for, practically anything. So, and maybe that's maybe that's one of the reasons why it stands out so much for this is that I didn't care enough about the storyline in the match, and I was enjoying the match as a wrestling match, that I would have preferred a wrestling match end or a really big, screw job, a really big, F the baby face instead of this. And it's just like, so I don't know. And in one of those, just to show how weird the world is, I know who Mike Mondo is and can remember him from the Spirit Squad, something that caused me to stop watching wrestling. But I never knew Burchill. So to me, Mike Mondo is better than the Burchill.
I actually kind of liked when DK and I were talking about it. I actually might have watched a match, with everything just to see something if it's on somewhere where the NWA doesn't get credit for it. But now that Mike Mondo's taking on Maxi Impaler, I just don't care at all now. They just killed Mike Mondo for me.
Same.
Yeah. And look, it's not even worth getting into. Next, we have a promo with EC3. Now, EC3 comes out looking nice, not ready to wrestle, is wearing a nice shirt, wearing sunglasses, his hair's decently combed for once. He comes out, cuts a promo on the Dothan crowd, reminding us that he is the heel in this, no matter how much the fans want to cheer for EC3. When he starts calling the folks, slack-jawed yokels, it's time for them to pull their favor of EC3. It was very Southern wrestling, which I guess is what you're going for when you're in Dothan, Alabama.
Wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling. EC3 says that he puts over the 10 pounds of gold because he held it for a year, not because it was held by Ric Flair, not because it was held by AJ Styles, not because it was held by Nick Aldis, but because he held it for a year. And Latimer interrupts the promo, which most of the time I'm excited for, right? Most of the time I'm happy to see anyone shut up EC3. He comes out also well-dressed, look nice, hair's in the ponytail, looking good, almost like a man bun. He's got the 10 pounds of gold. He looks like a world champion. He comes out there and cuts a promo. Hey, I'm going to keep this short. He breaks the fourth wall. He talks to the fans there. He's like, I'm going to cut this short. I just want to kick his ass. And when everyone was okay with that, everyone wanted to see EC3 get his ass kicked by Tom Latimer. So I guess the whole Southern wrestling's working. He tells him that this has gone on for far too long, and it's going to end in Dothan. And then as EC3 exits the ring, he gives Tom the last rites before leaving. And even the announcers kind of pointed that out. I did forget to mention when Latimer entered the ring, it's almost like EC3's brain just broke and he froze, holding the mic, looking like he was getting ready to say something, but just stood there. And Tom took the mic out of his hands. I don't know if there's any significance to that for later, but it was nice to see that a promo like that, because it did play to that Southern wrestling crowd. But, really, I just want that match to happen so that we can move to the next story. After that, we get Blunt Force Trauma, who have a new look, along with Aaron Stevens, who also has a modified look. They come out to the ring, and they look, when people say they get the Doom vibes, it's because they very much look like Doom. Carnage and Damage are very dominating looking tag team. They look dominant. And I think the NWA was smart to put these two guys together with Aaron Stevens. I feel like that's worked. It's been a good program. They need to do something different with him, though. And tonight, they face Kratos, who, again, is the longtime rival of Aaron Stevens, former tag team champions to bitter enemies. And they announced Kratos' mystery partner as Baron Von Storm. Now, the significance of this is, again, this show happened on December 14th, before Jack Stain had passed away. Now, Jack Stain was originally scheduled to be a part of this show, but did not make it because he was in the hospital fighting for his life. A battle he did not end up winning. We know that. Rest in peace, Jax. It was kind of surreal to see Tim there holding a, they called it like I forgot what the word they used, but like a totem to kind of the world, and it was supposed to keep Baron Von Storm calm and cool and collected. And so him being the partner for Kratos actually was kind of a neat little Easter egg for longtime NWA fans. When Tim Storm first came to Billy Corgan's NWA, there was no actual promotion at the time. And remember, a lot of those initial 10 Pounds of Gold episodes were filmed in Southern California with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Kratos was one of Tim Storm's first opponents when he came to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So it was kind of like a little Easter egg throwback. And then I did some research. Now, they had never tag teamed before, but they had been on opposite sides of the ring before. Kratos was kind of like the assassin, if you will, for Strictly Business, being Tom Latimer and Chris Masters, when they took on Aaron Stevens, who at the time was a babyface, Trevor Murdoch, and Tim Storm. And then, so this was only like maybe the third or fourth time they had been in the ring together. One other time, Sal Renaro had teamed up with Tim Storm when Aaron Stevens and Kratos were still tag team. So that was kind of a neat little Easter egg. Tim Storm just celebrated his 60th birthday, recently, but again, this was filmed 2 months ago. Honestly, looking at Tim Storm standing next to Kratos, even at his advanced age, they look kind of badass. Not going to lie. I don't hate the idea of them being a regular tag team. And if you're going to continue to use Tim Storm at this point in his career, putting him with a guy like Kratos as a dominant tag team where he doesn't have to do a lot of the work would be a certainly easy way to keep him active in the NWA. I know a lot of people were talking about putting Tim Storm as a coach or as the president of the NWA. The current storyline, you wouldn't want him to be president because he's kind of crazy, and you know how well that works out when you have a crazy person as president. So it just, seeing him in the ring,
we got Billy.
Seeing him in the ring, I didn't really think this was going to be a good match, and it was an okay match. Kratos was bumping hard for Blunt Force Trauma. He was taking the brunt of the punishment. There was a lot of focusing on quick tags with Blunt Force Trauma, something that they've been known for since they've been teaming, and keeping Tim Storm out of that ring and avoiding the claw. There's a one instance where Damage jumped to the outside and distracted Tim by pulling him down off the ring apron when Kratos went for the tag. Kind of these heelish moves that I really feel like make Blunt Force Trauma an even more fun tag team to watch. But again, this was an advanced age Tim Storm. He cannot go the way he used to. He gets in the ring with the hot tag. He clotheslines. He does some back elbows, and at one point, he even efforts to put the Trap City, I believe it was on Carnage, and the announcers even called that, and that was kind of a nice, touching moment, even though this was before we even knew that Jax had passed away. And again, the match, that's not how it ended. Stevens got involved again. This time, Baron Von Storm reaches over the ropes, puts Stevens in the claw, drags him into the ring. He keeps the claw on Damage. I believe it was Damage. Clips Tim Storm to the ground. Stevens falls on top of him, never relinquishing the claw. Tim's shoulders are down on the mat, and I believe it was Carnage, maybe it was Damage, I don't recall. Got on top, pinned him, and weirdly enough, Jared Fritz counts the 3. I think that should have been a disqualification at that point. Now, Stevens didn't actually get involved, but at this point, he's in the ring. It just feels a little weird for him to be on top of Tim, and he's counting the 3 count while the other guy's on top of Tim. So that was just weird, and it kind of ruined any of the nostalgia and good feelings I had about this match with that finish. So, Devin, Kratos, Mercer, what did you think of this one?
You're muted.
I found my unmute. I didn't like it. First of all, what's the deal with their new Blunt Force Trauma's new demolition attire?
They kind of made him feel like Harlem Heat with what Carnage was wearing, and then Damage was not wearing the pants, so it looked a little out of place. He's wearing shorts, wasn't wearing pants.
They're called trunks.
Excuse me, trunks.
So, well, there's some images I never want to have again. I'm kind of over Blunt Force Trauma. I mean, I like what they did with them. I kind of like I was impressed that they held the titles as long as they did, even though it wasn't as long as it seemed because of the way the TV thing went. But I'm kind of over them now. They've kind of gone back to not really winning anymore. And so it's like, can we do, can they go away? Can we get back, like Marche Rocket, maybe Rodney Mack, something like that?
Get back with the Mac.
Exactly. The match, I cannot get into Tim Baron Von Storm.
Yeah.
I just can't. I know why they're doing it. I understand why they're doing it. I hold a strict belief that people over 50 probably shouldn't really be wrestling. And I understand that Tim won his first world title at over 50. And, he was maybe he was an exception to the rule while he was champion. Now at 60, and he's not even in the greatest shape anymore. And I mean, he kicked my ass, every day and 3 times on Sundays.
And no disrespect intended, but that shouldn't be the measuring stick of what a modern pro wrestler should look like. Yes, they all should be able to kick your ass, but
yeah,
that's not the measuring stick,
And that's my point. I shouldn't look like that's what I say about the small ones. It doesn't look like I should trip and fall on them and pin them. And I don't know. I thought he was fine on commentary. I'm not 100% sure why they took him off. I like Danny Deals on commentary. So, I mean, if they want to do a 2-person booth, I kind of get that. I'm not the biggest fan of a 3-person booth. Find another role for him backstage. Everything has to be weird now in the matches he's in. If he doesn't win with the claw, then he has to lose because He's getting disqualified for not letting go of the claw on Austin Idol, which
you don't win with a claw, you die with a claw.
Since they had just had that happen, apparently they didn't want to do it again. So, he had to get pinned while having the claw on Aaron Stevens, and it just didn't make any sense. And, apparently Kratos didn't know you're supposed to take the robe and put it over his eyes. And so instead he was offering him his, got the whole world in his hand globe. No, it didn't work. It's not going to work. This isn't. Look, fanboys will pop for anything. Live crowds, it's easier to get them to enjoy stuff. But as something that you're wanting me to tune into and give up 10 minutes of my life for, this isn't it.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I'm looking forward to next week's. So looks like I may get my wish. What wish might I get? The team going away and other people coming in, or something else? Because I have lots of wishes.
Yeah, mine's for a redhead from Russia with freckles and blue eyes. So can I have my wish come true, please?
Yet.
Mine is for, world peace.
Anyway.
So
I'm sorry. I thought we were in a beauty.
What piece of the world do you want?
Nothing major. Europe.
I'd take Costa Rica.
Oh, you just think that they're real dinosaurs down there.
There's a lot in the NWA right now.
Oh my God.
That was funny.
All right. So that's going to do it.
That was funny.
Jeez. That's going to do it for us, guys. We're going to wrap it up here. We went a little bit longer than I was expecting us to, but we will be back on Tuesday to present the pre-party, or at least I will be. And then also our pals, the other Alliance guys, will be on the air this Sunday, usually about 3:30 West Coast time, 6:30 for you East Coasters, and for any of you living in the middle, you'll figure it out, I'm sure. Before we go, I know that Jaden, I know there's some new matches from Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators coming to YouTube. Some of them are already up on YouTube. What announcements do you have for Dog for our listeners?
All right. Obviously, we know March 15th, the Nerd Force Fan Fest. We're going to have a table there, and there's going to be a promo contest where the winner of the contest gets to do a promo battle with a wrestler from Dog. Hope they don't choose Dave Dog, because nobody wants to hear him talk. I know I don't. And then on April 17th, Rowan University, we have Donovan Dijak. There is Notorious Mimi. There is former WWE superstar Dink Tolan. There's Rick and Wally Gursky. There's Notorious Valerie Verman's going to be there defending the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship. I guess Breaker Morant's going to be there defending the Dog Championship. The Dog Tag Team Championship is going to be on the line with Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh. And David Goldie's going to be defending the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship. Top to bottom, a great card. There's also a Conquistador. So, again, top to bottom, a great card. And, of course, Daredevil Dave Dahl will be there, too. And then on 2 days later, we're going to have multiple matches at the South Jersey Geek Fest. It's free as part of the event. So you come to the South Jersey Geek Fest, you get to check out Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators matches. And I could actually officially announce that in July, I'm trying to pull it up now because the stupid lock screen wouldn't come off on the other phone, so I can't pull it up a second. So give me a second to try to figure out what my code is, because my stupid thumb isn't working right now. But we're going to have professional wrestling events on July 23rd, July 24th, July 25th, July 26th, and July 27th. There's going to be 5 days and multiple matches going on throughout that day because Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators will now be part of the Monmouth County Fair, which is one of the largest fairs in New Jersey. Between 90 and 120,000 people frequent that fair throughout the 5-day event. So we're going to see Dog Pro Wrestling there at that on, again, July 23rd to July 27th, 5 days. And we're going to have some great wrestling action. And I have a feeling Dave Dahl will be there too. So that's something. And then, before that, I forgot. On the 28th of June, Dog makes it to return to the Sacred Heart Church. So we're going to be there. No matches are scheduled right now. I think they're waiting to see some of what happens with the Rowan event and the South Jersey Geek Fest event to see what happens with matches that will be happening there. But stay tuned to alliance-wrestling.com, the dogprowrestling.com, and to the Alliance Guys podcast for future matches that are going to be announced. And I feel like I'm missing something. Make sure you go to the YouTube. There is new matches that are uploaded. The matches from the Monmouth University event are already up there right now. You can see wrestlers like Notorious Mimi, Enzo Amore, aka the Real One, aka Zoe. You can see Tank Tolan is going to be on there. Falaba absolutely squishing. Connor was always great. We have to make that a meme now, or a short, or whatever we're going to call it. It has to be, Connor getting squished by Falaba. And by the way, he has a separated shoulder. In case you're wondering, people ask what happened to Connor the Flag Boy. He has a separated shoulder. He'll probably be out for a little while. Also, they had to take a snow shovel to get him out of the ring.
I was going to say, is it okay? Are we allowed to laugh, or should we feel bad?
Have you met Connor?
No.
Well, if you met him and you see what he does, then, things happen to people when they do stupid things. Yeah. I mean, did you laugh when Dave Dahl got squashed?
Yes.
Repeatedly?
Yes.
Every time we watch it?
Without hesitation.
Yes. Similar thing. We'll have to make sure I put that on YouTube. That'll be short, I'm sure.
You should loop it for an entire minute, as long as you can, on YouTube, and just keep it going.
1 hour of Connor getting squished.
Oh, shit. I thought we were talking about Dave Dahl.
Okay. 1 hour of Dave Dahl getting squished. We have 2 new videos that are going to be on Dog YouTube page soon.
And if you can find it, put the theme music for Benny Hill in the background.
That is what that.
I'm tired.
Can we clip that, please?
No, we cannot. I'm sorry.
This was a Twitch stream. That'd be so playing in the corner right now.
Hey, teach me how to do that. We'll get that going. I don't care.
And DK dancing, we got to find that again.
People are calling me Kevin Owens on TikTok, so I'll go with it. I don't care anymore. But that's gonna do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Each and every. Oh, see, now there's a weird comment on Twitch just because I said their name. Thank you for tuning in every Thursday night, spending your time with DK, Jaden, and myself. DK had to go because he's a sleepy guy. But we'll be back next Thursday. If you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoy the live stream, we do appreciate you liking, commenting, subscribing, leaving a comment after the video is over. It all helps with the algorithm. If you want to financially support the show, of course, you could always buy the shirt. And if you don't want to buy the shirt, you could always you don't have to buy anything, but we also partnered with Debbie and Trophy Smack if you're looking for your next new energy flavor or your next trophy for your fantasy sports league, your bowling league, or any other place where you need a prize to show off. But that's going to do it for us again. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, with me, with them. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.